Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the second episode of Energized Impact podcast series. Last week, we talked about a lot of different things pertaining to your nutrition, basically how to break down your diet and how to create a diet that works best for you. Now, today on this episode of Energized Impact, we're going to be breaking down two things. One, dealing with nutrition, and the second one, dealing with nutrition, but more so focused on your performance in the gym and how you can optimize that with your nutrition, both regarding to your post and pre-workout nutritional needs. So getting into the first segment, I got Brady here with me.
What's good, y'all?
What we're going to be breaking down for you guys right now is just the breakdowns of some oils and foods that are commonly misunderstood and misrepresented in our diet that kind of go overlooked and kind of fly a little under the radar so that we can see the benefits of introducing them into our diets and our nutritional lives. So one of the most common things that readily available, we see in stores, we see wherever we go. Like, for example, with Bridgewater students on this campus, there's a little section of the KCC that's got a bunch of additives to it, whether it be from the nut family with almonds and walnuts, even over to having flax seeds available. And not a lot of people understand what the hell these actually are and what they actually do for you. But when you look at flax seeds, these are a food that you can kind of add on top of a salad, throw it into your yogurt if you like the crunch. I don't know what type of barbarian you really are, but these foods are huge influencers within our energy levels and our energy output, as well as honey, something that you can add into your tea. You can add onto a peanut butter and jelly sandwich if you want to get crazy with it. But these are some foods that get commonly overlooked. And I just want to ask Brady, since he's here with us, what's another food, in case I might have missed it, that you see a lot of people overlooking in their diet that could help them in the long run?
Another big one that I don't really like personally, but I know a lot of other people like is cottage cheese. Cottage cheese is really good for a bunch of people. It's got a lot of fat in it, a lot of protein in it. It will help you get through your workouts more than what you think it would. So.
And let's be real, the reason a lot of these foods go overlooked is because we don't know how to implement them into our diet. We don't know where to add them in. So, for example, that cottage cheese, as much as you hate the texture, hate the look, and just overall hate the appeal of it, that can help you in the long run when you're sitting there looking for something in the middle of the day, but between your main meals, whether it be supplementing, a handful of walnuts with it, it gives you all of the building blocks for the necessary growth that you're looking for. And that's just one minor example of how these can be implemented. For example, with the flax seeds, we're going back to it. We're going to double back. We're going to attack it again, yeah? We've all heard of the delicious and kind of unhealthy snack of peanut butter balls, right? The little Buckeyes, the things that we make around Christmas and Thanksgiving time. Now, there's something you can actually implement to create a healthier version of that, is watching the cocoa powder you're using, as well as putting flax seeds in it to allow them to give you a kind of a nutritional boost, as well as you're going to substitute some other things for it to kind of create that healthy dessert for you. And that's going to make all of the difference, and that's going to also make you feel a little less bad about satisfying that sweet tooth of yours. And another huge thing that also gets overlooked, man, is we see that a lot of people think for their main source of potassium and a huge factor in their energy output levels comes from these fruits like bananas. But the truth is, we actually see in common nuts that are all around us, like the almonds, for example, a handful of those almonds pretty much has the equivalent of 2 bananas worth of potassium in it. And we sit there and we overlook these little nuts because we only see the common branding of them as having and being high in protein and our fats, but we don't see the additional benefits of these foods. And the thing is, almonds are versatile in so many ways, man. You can throw an almond, you can have it straight up by itself, you can throw them in a shake and blend them up, give it a little bit more of an earthy taste to your shakes if you really want to be a woodland creature like that. That's all you. But we can also see that we can throw these roasted almonds on salads. So if you want to have that rabbit food and feel comfortable doing that, throw a little bit of extra stuff on there. Don't just go with your basic onions and tomatoes on there. Throw some nuts on there. Give it a little bit more crunch instead of just going with the croutons, which is just fried carbohydrates. And we're going to go back to Brady again and see if he's got anything to double back or offer to continue with what we're talking about on this topic.
So another thing is, like, a lot of people look over watermelon seeds. Watermelon seeds have very high potassium. A lot of people didn't know that. That's why a lot of people implement them during, like, little kids' soccer games or something like that. Like, for their halftime, they'll get, like, oranges and stuff like that for vitamin C and stuff. But they also give them watermelon seeds, like a watermelon with seeds in them, so that they can replenish their potassium levels and stuff like that and get back out there to play so they don't cramp.
I got a question for you as we transition to our next segment where we're talking about, how to introduce certain foods into your diet and implement your food to kind of maximize and optimize your training both before you work out and after you work out. And we've seen it a lot on these crazy social media people and these huge Instagram influencers that are supposedly the biggest and most renowned names in fitness. We see them eat these sugary snacks that they say are quick acting within their ATP systems as well as their metabolism. Like, for example, going into a workout and having some Sour Patch Kids on deck. What are your thoughts on that type of implementation into your diet?
Personally, I don't like having sugary stuff during my workouts, before my workouts, or even after my workouts. I just don't feel right. Not because, mentally I'm like, oh man, this sugar, it's bad for me and stuff like that. But just because some people's stomachs just don't like sugary things after or before workouts. Like, you got to get your mind right, like, to implement different things. Like, I would like peanut butter before my workouts and stuff like that. And after, I would also take a couple of spoonfuls of peanut butter just to replenish my energy levels and get some protein in me so then I could go throughout my day.
All right, hell yeah, man. Thank you again for coming out and helping me tonight with this and giving our listeners a chance to kind of understand some of the foods that kind of go overlooked in their diet because they might not have the knowledge to implement them into it. That's going to bring us to our second segment of tonight's podcast where we're going to talk about how your nutrition should be laid out before and after your workouts to get the most out of what you just did. Because let's be real, we don't sit there and go to train and put ourselves through these gruesome, enduring workouts just to get minimal results. We want to optimize both our bodies and our minds in the sense of we want to get the best out of what we do. And my second guest is going to be Zach Atkins here helping me out again. He was here last episode as well. So welcome back, Zach. Appreciate you coming out again tonight, man. So before we get into it and I start asking Zach his opinions on this and how he feels about this, I want to sit there and get into it and break it down like this. One of the most renowned names in the fitness industry right now is Kris Gethin. If you don't know who that is, I recommend looking him up and watching some of his stuff. He is one of the most thorough individuals to ever step foot and try and change the fitness game, both from his supplement company, Pre-Caged. This dude is the face of bodybuilding right now, the face of fitness, and he undergoes several clinical trials with everything he does, whether it be putting out a plan or putting out his nutritional science. He breaks it down to a T. He runs himself like a lab rat just to make sure the points he provides are the right ones. And we find in one of his videos that he talked about his nutrition leading up to a workout and following a workout. So leading up to your workout, he said about 3 to 4 hours prior to it, you want to make sure you're having high carbs, a high protein intake with a low fat, as well as 30 minutes before, you're going to give yourself a little bit of that quick energy hit and boost. So when we go back to that first segment, right, you throw that handful of almonds in there to kind of get your body going and keeping you don't want to have a high-fat diet going into, or a high-fat meal going into a workout because it's going to take the blood away from your muscle repair as well as the protein synthesis and focus on digesting and using those fats that you just intook in a more efficient way. And that is actually counterproductive to what we're trying to do in this process. And then as well as after your workout, you want to give yourself a little bit of time, about 15, 20 minutes after your workout. Let everything kind of simmer down and settle down before you delve into having a meal to refuel you. But when you do have that meal, make sure it's high in carbs. You can have moderate fat levels as well as make sure you have high proteins. The reason for having these carbs and these proteins is because the carbs are going to help you replenish the glycogen that you just used up in that workout for the fuel to keep you going. And you also want to make sure you have the moderate fats and the high protein, because that is going to combine and act as a catalyst for your protein synthesis and give you a boost and how efficiently your body is building yourself up. Now, that's going to bring me to my first question that I want to ask you, Zach, man. When it comes to your nutrition and before you work out, because I know you're a college athlete, what do you do to take steps, if any? Like, I understand some people think, you know what, screw it. I'm a beast. I'm a dog. I
All
don't
those
need to
things
worry
are
about
true.
this.
Straight facts. It all depends on timing for me because, as he said, college athlete, college comes first. So, there's always class and time discrepancies everywhere. So I kind of just tend to work around my schedule and just try to eat what usually works for me and makes me feel the best. So usually about 3 to 4 hours out of my lift, which would be about breakfast time for me, I'll eat something, high in protein, high in carbs. Usually some eggs and potatoes does it for me. That usually makes me feel pretty good throughout the day. Usually I like to go eat right after my workout as well because the way my schedule is set up, I hit my workout about an hour before I have to go outside and practice. So that little window, 30-minute window in between is really key for me to get some food in me, or else I'll feel like complete garbage the entire day. But I'll usually go for something, higher in protein and lower in carbs and everything else afterwards because I don't really want to go back out on the field feeling bloated, but at the same time, I feel like I need something in my body to give me some type of energy to be able to get through practice and be able to recover afterwards. So
Oh, heck
that's
yeah.
usually how I go about that.
Heck yeah. And I remember those grinds, man, especially going out to practice when you've ate the bare minimum. You feel like absolute trash.
Yeah,
man.
and it can go both ways too. There's eating too much afterwards, right before practice. I've made that mistake too. So I've pretty much found a pretty good balance in between that.
All right, very nice, very nice. And I want to ask you one last thing, man. What do you look at when you don't have a workout and don't have anything really athletic going on? It's your quote unquote rest day. How do you change the focus of your nutrition and your breakdown? Like, what do you focus on those days when you're supposed to be resting?
On those days, so basically you're talking about a Sunday for me because that's going to be the only day where I'm not really actively engaged in some type of lift or football workout. And I'll usually stick to the same diet. I'll eat 4 times a day, but my meals will be a little different. Sometimes I'll go a little bit unhealthier just to kind of treat myself. On a Sunday, I've been disciplined about it all week. As for this season, we just won a game. That's how it's gone every weekend. So I don't feel
Hail Eagles.
too bad about eating a donut or something for breakfast on Sundays, but I still try to get the main nutrients in there as well as the unhealthy things that I eat here and there. I'm sure that I get my proteins, my eggs, my grilled chicken, stuff like that along with the main courses. Important to get some fruits and vegetables in there, especially on a recovery day. It's always good to have some fiber in your diet to make sure that everything, your internal organ system's going smoothly, because that's some things that you can really forget about because you only see changes on the outside, but the whole time your body's changing on the outside, you're going through inside changes too. So it's important to make sure you take care of that.
Hey, let's be real, man. You just got to look in the toilet to know if your fiber is where it needs to be.
Exactly. Just make sure you're having healthy bowel movements, stuff like that. Fruit's really good for that. Vegetables is really good for that.
Heck yeah, man. I appreciate you coming out and talking to me about this. And that's going to kind of wrap up what we have to talk about today. And I appreciate anybody that tuned in to listen, as well as these two strapping young men coming out to help me with this.
Anytime,
And
boss.
it's crucial, man, to remember that not everything's going to work for you that might work for somebody else. It takes an adjustment period. You need to tailor everything. Have that trial and error period to make sure it works for you. But just remember, man, when you see those flax seeds in the KCC or anywhere that you're at, you see those almonds, give them a try. See how you can implement them. See how you can take your nutrition to the next level. And prior to a workout, man, make that little tweak. See what changes. See how you feel throughout your workout. And that's going to bring me to the last point is the way you implement these strategies and these tactics may seem like it's only for a nutritional sense, but it's an overall wellness sense, man. These baby steps, they add up. They add up to strides. And if you sit there and you take 2 steps, even if they're baby or long jumps shit, you're still taking 2 steps in the right direction. You're still going in a positive way, no matter how many times you have to reset or how many times you recess. You got this. Take it one battle at a time, one step at a time with everything you do. And as always, I'm Drake signing off. Remember to energize that impact. Be sure to tune in next week for the next episode.